Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kian and I make lifestyle and faith related videos, and today's video is going to be all about finances, but a special twist because it's financial advice from someone who should probably not be giving financial advice. I wanted to make this video because personally, it's hard for me to relate to a lot of financial videos because I just feel like I'm not that far along. Like, I know they're really smart and they tell me everything I should do, but it's just like really hard for me to do it. So this is a video for all the people who are not responsible with money, because I have been there in many times in my life and I'm doing my best to get better. So, you know, this is just from me to you, and hopefully it helps in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to be answering your questions that you submitted on Instagram, so let's just dive right into it. Or you know what? Let's saddle on up and ride on into it. I think that just needs to be a thing now. I'm trying to get rid of all my YouTube cliches, so I'm not going to hop on anymore. I'm going to saddle up. One thing I want to address before we even get into any of the other questions is one of the most important things, and that is your financial mindset and how you relate to money. I'm sure there's a ton of good podcasts on this. If I can find any, I will have them linked in the description, but it's really important to understand what your relationship with money is before you try to do everything else. In order to build a strong foundation with finances, you definitely have to do some soul searching to figure out, okay, how do I think about money? What are my emotions towards money? And like, what are my spending habits like? And then from there, you can kind of come up with a plan to heal those areas, and then also build a solid foundation to move forward. Everybody is so different. Some people grew up with amazing parents who were transparent about money and actually instilled saving, budgeting, and all of those things. Some people grew up around parents who were constantly worried about money, and that has then carried on into the next generation. My family in particular were more so the worriers. We only heard negative things about money, and money equals struggles. We just always knew when our parents were struggling. And I think that impacted me a lot because, I mean, I remember I used to go out to eat, and I remember looking at our dinner bill and it'd be like $85 or $100, and I was like, I don't know if my parents have enough money to pay for it. That is the impact that your parents can have on you. Something that happened in my life that really affected me was I had a friend, a best friend, steal from me in the 6th grade. And before then, I was totally fine saving money. I mean, I was a kid, but you know, I just like didn't feel a need to constantly spend my money. But after I found out she stole money from my dresser, since that moment, I have never, up until more recently, I have never saved money in my life. If there is money in my bank account, I find a way to spend it. And it all correlates to that, what happened to me when I was younger. And once I realized that, it kind of gave me more clarity on why I am the way I am, and being more understanding with yourself and sympathetic to why you are the way you are when it comes to money is very helpful, in my opinion, to move forward. So knowing that I have a bad habit of spending and not saving anything, that was a good place for me to start breaking through. How are you budgeting now that you two are moving? So, honestly, budgeting has been a little different, but I'm going to talk about my experiencing budgeting when I was planning to move to Australia. What I did is I had a goal. I divvied up all the costs that it would take to get to Australia, and I had a goal to save $10,000, and then I figured out the time frame I wanted to save that in. I think mine was about 6 months. Or maybe a little bit more, maybe like 8 months. And then I divided that goal into months to see how much I needed to save each month. I then put this all into Milanote and I had a checklist for each month of a goal I wanted to reach to save. During my shifts at work, I would always start adding as much money as I could to my savings stockpile. I worked as a waitress, so I never deposited that money. I just kept it in cash, put it in a box in my room, and just like didn't look at it. And then I would stack my cash up and then put a sticky note and make it like cute and fun and rewarding to add to my stack of cash. Is November 20th, and this is all of the cash, not all of it, but majority of the cash I have made from my tips so far. I put $500 in my savings already. Now I'm going to organize this and decide how much more I want to move into my savings box. I've also gotten paid a little bit more this month because I got a payout from a collaboration I did, which was $600, and then I also got my first YouTube paycheck, which was a little over $300. So that was an extra $900 of unexpected income this month. But it's really weird because it's not weird, it's pretty fascinating because I have all this cash. I'm bringing in more money, and for some reason now that I have more money, it's harder for me to put move this cash into my savings. And I think that's just something I need to work through because I don't need this money. I'm not spending it. This should really all go into my savings because I have money in my bank account. But it's just interesting, the emotions that come and the attachment that come. Like when you have more, you get greedier. And it's not like I'm gonna go spend this on anything. I just like don't want to put it into my savings box. Very interesting. I feel like I'm one of those people on Instagram who like try to get to you like, do you want to make thousands of dollars a month? And then like they post just stacks of money, and I feel like a drug dealer right now. $1,000, $1,500, and then this is like $63. So I have almost $1,600 right here, which is more than what I have in my saving box up there. So I need to move some of this money into my savings because I've been hoarding it for too long. My strategy for this is to not have any money in my bank account. I just don't deposit any money, and I try to only use my card. That way I'm not losing track of what I'm spending with the cash. Like the cash goes to savings, and then on my card I'll have maybe like $200 in my account, and that should last me a couple weeks. And that way I'm basically like living like I don't have a lot of money, even though I have like, $4,000 in cash right here. My bank account might only have $200, and I kind of live off of what's in my bank account. And that's kind of how I'm budgeting right now because I didn't really trust myself to have all this money in my bank account. So I've just been only depositing a little bit in my bank account and then only using that money. This is how I am saving my money. And this works for me. And this, like a savings account might work for you, but for me, I need it somewhere where I'm not gonna touch it. Well, I could touch it, but I just need it somewhere physical where I don't like have access to it. It just stays in my room. This is my stack so far. So I just do this thing where I have a post-it note on each month, so I also track it online how much I'm saving, but this is just like a physical way to make it more fun. So this was how much I saved in September. It's $500. Then up to the next sticky note, this is how much I saved in October. I saved $1,000 in October. And this is how much I've saved in November so far. So I kind of just make it pretty. And so yeah, so on the 14th I put in $500. So now I'm going to add this $1,000 to it.
I just doubled my savings. Wow. That's really cool for me. Okay, so now I have $3,000 saved. It's really cool to be at a point where savings is fun. And my November goal is reached. I would love to save even more this month since I will not be working for 10 days next month, which is about at least $1,000 worth of income next month I will not be making. I have to keep that in mind with my savings goal next month. So my saving goal this month was $1,500. My saving goal next month, I think I lowered to $1,000 just because I know I won't be getting that much income and it'll be more of a high spend month with Christmas. So keeping that in mind.
Having those goals, that big goal of saving $10,000, but also having those small monthly goals was really, really important, because if you just have this big goal and no plan broken down on how to get there, it's going to be a lot harder. And obviously within all that, you need to keep in mind what your expenses are and all that, which we can talk about later in this video. If you have a tendency to spend money, I would just take my rent money and put it aside and stack that up as early in the month as possible. So again, I wasn't tempted to use it, or at the end of the month, I wouldn't be left with like hardly any money and like scrambling to try to make enough money for rent the next month. I knew all my bills were taken care of because I had a cash stack in my room that I would deposit to pay my rent later that month. The next question I got asked is, did Kyle and I share bank accounts before we got married? So the answer to this is yes, we shared one account and we opened it up together. It was a joint account, and the purpose of that was so we would both have a place to put money into for the wedding. When it came to saving up for the wedding, so from my journey of saving for Australia, God used that to really break off a lot of financial strongholds I had in my life, which was amazing because I started becoming more responsible with my money. I started tithing, I started being more generous, and therefore I felt more confident with my money. And then when I got engaged to Kyle, I realized that he actually had a lot of financial strongholds as well that hadn't been broken off yet. So talking about finances in the beginning of our marriage, or of our engagement, was harder because he would get so stressed out about money, and that was something God needed to work through and is still working through. It's like a process for everybody, especially if you've had a lot of bad habits in your life with money like I have. So God had to take Kyle through a process as well. What I ended up doing was calling my dad and saying, "Dad, how the heck am I going to do this?" And he said he's a math guy, so he just like came up with a whole budgeting Excel sheet for the wedding specifically, and he was able to break it down into goals, and our goal was to save $1,700 a month between the both of us to pay for what we needed to for the wedding. So again, having that monthly goal was awesome, and then we opened up a shared account so we could both be putting deposits into that account. I would highly recommend, once you guys are engaged, to start being very transparent about how much money you guys have saved up or in your bank account. That's super important to feel comfortable talking about those things, especially in today's society where no one is really comfortable sharing those things. I would also recommend listening to Dave Ramsey's podcast because it's really refreshing to hear people talk about actual numbers, how much they make a month, how much debt they're in, how much their bills are. It's really, really helpful to listen to such transparency. And then shortly before the wedding, I believe I added him to my bank account and he closed his bank account, and now everything is combined going into our different accounts. So we have our main account, we have our wedding account, and we have a savings account. We now have a business account. Wedding account is now going to be turned into our tax account so we can separate my money for taxes and his money too, because we're both contractor workers, 1099 workers. So yeah, that is how we do our account. Somebody asked, how can I start to save up in high school and also take care of my needs? I think when you're in high school, this is like a great time to practice saving because it builds such a good habit at such a young age. I wish I would have learned how to save when I was in high school, and you can do that in a couple different ways. You can just set an amount of savings, like I want to save $50 a month or $100 a month. I mean, if you save $100 a month, that'll get you $1,200 in a year put away. You can always do more than that, or you can say I want to save 10% of my paycheck. So whatever your paycheck is, you just dedicate 10% to saving it. And I mean, you can do whatever saving percentage you want, just depending on your goals. Obviously, the more you can save, the better. It never hurts to have more money. I have gone through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace, and something he would suggest as the first step for everyone is to have an $1,000 emergency fund. And I would highly recommend having that because there's just things that happen in life, like your car might break down or you might need a new computer, and having that $1,000 just there for those emergencies reduces a lot of stress and gives you a safety blanket. So that's always a good saving goal, to have $1,000, and then from there you build up to like a month's worth of expenses and then 3 months worth of expenses, and you just keep building that account, savings account, so you can have more money in case of emergencies. But yeah, I would definitely just start small, and then once start with something that you're comfortable with, or maybe that stretches you just a little bit. So if you're only comfortable saving $25 a month, maybe save $30 a month, and as you get more comfortable and confident, start increasing it, and maybe even break it down weekly. So each week I just want to save $20 or $10. I think when you're in high school, that's a great place to start, considering you probably only have like a part-time job. Somebody asked, do you set aside money for taxes as a contracted freelance employee? I have not done that until this month, and that should tell you why I should not be making a financial advice video, because everybody tells you to put money away for taxes, and I just have not done that. I think Kyle and I have been in this crazy season of paying for the wedding and then moving into this apartment, and that just wasn't something I was prioritizing, and I really felt the weight of it, and I always felt just like, this is very irresponsible and I just need to bite the bullet and start doing it. I'm pretty sure there is a way to automatically have money pulled from incoming paychecks and automatically put in different accounts. So I should look into that. Right now I decided to just start doing 15% of all my income into a separate account for the taxes, just so we can start building up that fund for next year. This year we're not going to owe as much in taxes, but I know next year we're probably going to owe a lot. So I'm definitely going to start with 15%, at least to build up my confidence in it, and then from there I can increase to 20%, 25%, 30%, just to have all that money put aside. But it's definitely something you should do. And again, if that 30% put away just sounds like way too intimidating, just at least start with something like 10% of your income. Somebody asked, how did you both save up enough in order to afford the transition into marriage? So like I said, I thought I was moving to Australia, and God let me believe that, because he knew that was the only reason I was going to save up money, is if I had this big dream ahead of me. He knew that was the only way to get me to save money. Turns out I was saving for my wedding. So when Kyle and I met, I had, I don't know what I had, like maybe $5,000 or $6,000 saved, which was helpful for the wedding. I think I reinvested a little bit of that into like equipment and our move to Arizona, but the rest was put towards our wedding fund. And then from there, like I said, we had my dad help us out to get a number of what we needed to do. But it's just crazy, because when you know Jesus, God loves to bless weddings. He just loves to provide. So a huge part of why we were able to save so quickly was because God was just blessing us in that season with extra income that we were not expecting. So that was very helpful. So thank you, God, for doing that. When people are like, oh, we're trying to save or be in a better financial place before we get married, I feel like that's something awesome to just figure out together. Being married shouldn't be based on if you guys are both financially stable yet. Like, I would still say that Kyle and I are going through a lot of ups and downs of financial stability, and if God wants you to be married, he will provide a way. And yeah, just to trust in that. If he's calling you to get married, don't let money be a stumbling block preventing you from doing that. The next question is, how do you decide how much to budget? So I use the Every Dollar app. It was created by Dave Ramsey, and his vision for it is that every single dollar you make has a place to go. That way there's just not a bunch of money that you just have no plan for. So I got the premium membership, which connects to my bank account, and every single transaction that comes through we can categorize into our budget. So that's really helpful for budgeting. And when you sign up, I believe they take you through a process of like, how much money do you make a month? And if you are not a freelancer and you get a solid paycheck, oh, it's going to be so much easier for you. Our months fluctuate so much, so it's a little bit harder for us to budget. But I typically know, okay, minimum we'll be making around, I don't know, $6,000-$7,000 a month. So knowing that minimum that will come in is really helpful. Although I think there has been months where we dip below, and yeah, it gets tough when you dip below, but I kind of have a general idea of the minimum we'll make, and I start the budget from the minimum. And then if extra comes in, I tend to spend it, if I'm being honest, and that's because I have not been diligent about putting money aside when I need to. I think, I mean, I'm just being for reals honest. A lot of times we will get more money in, but because I'm not checking the Every Dollar app, and because we don't have small saving goals, we are not putting that money towards things, you know, like savings or paying off things, which we just end up spending on other things. So having a plan for your money is really important, because when I don't have a plan for the money, I end up spending it. I think that's just because of, you know, how I grew up spending money. I'm definitely a spender. I definitely would always go through my bank account. There was many times in my life where my bank account was at like $5. And I had to go figure something out, like go Lyft drive for a little bit to pay a certain bill. I have been there, and now I really don't like our bank account to be below a certain amount, or else I start getting a little bit stressed out. So I don't know, you just have to have a plan for your money. So that is one way to figure it out. You have to add up your expenses each month. That includes groceries, and we like to add in our date nights, bills, phone bills, all the things. You need to add up all of your expenses and figure out how much money you need to make each month to pay all of those. And then from there you can see what's left over and how you can divvy that up into fun things. Like me and Kyle both have a fun money category each month. Right now it's about $100, so we just have that extra money if like I want to buy a new outfit, or if he wants to do something. Kyle honestly doesn't spend much money. I'm definitely the spender. Kyle just, like, I don't know what he does. He just never spends money, but it's probably because I'm the one buying everything for like initiating all of our purchases. But yeah, Kyle is definitely, I don't know, he's not a saver, but he's not a spender. Somebody asked, if you make more money than Kyle, how do you feel about bringing in more money than your husband? So we have gone through seasons, and I definitely learned a lot from this. I always looked at it as Kyle and I are one, and if God blesses my income one month and God blesses Kyle's income the next month, either way, it's like we're both making that money. So like, even if my paychecks are more one month, like Kyle's making that money too, because we are one and we share everything. And I think in the beginning of our engagement and marriage, this was really hard for Kyle to grapple with. And I really do believe God intentionally was blessing my income over Kyle's, because he wanted Kyle to break off a lot of his financial strongholds and not be so controlled by money. And I would always tell Kyle that, like, it's not like you're not capable of making more than me. You totally can. But I really do feel God's intentionally having us make more money through this stream of income so he can heal you of so many things. And like I said earlier, it's really, really important to heal from your financial strongholds if you want to move forward and be more responsible and resourceful with your money. At the end of the day, God is our provider, and that's something we constantly have to remind ourselves. It's not Kyle needs to be the provider or Kian needs to be the provider. It's God's the provider, and he's going to provide for us in many different ways. And yeah, it doesn't mean anything about either of us, and it doesn't need to become like a pride thing. So yeah, that is gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed talking about finances. Hopefully this video wasn't like too hard to ingest, because I know finances can be a hard topic. There are people out there who have not arrived, and don't feel so guilty, because I know when I watch a lot of financial videos, I just feel bad because I'm like, gosh, I'm just not doing what they're doing, and I'm not that responsible, and I'm struggling with this, and I get down on myself because I feel like everybody else has got it figured out. But no, that's not the case. There was definitely a few months in our marriage where I had to budget out every single penny that we had to make sure our bills would be covered. And I'd be like, okay, this week we're gonna get short if that bill comes. I need you to make this like $200 more this week. Like, we have been there, and just because no matter how much money you make, if you don't address your financial habits and mindset, like, all that money will disappear and not be spent wisely. And I've learned that, like, as my income has grown, my money habits haven't changed. And I used to get by with like 1/3 of what I'm making now, and was totally way more financial, like had more saved up, more financially like stable. And that's just because my money mindset has like been slipping away, and my habits have not been as consistent. So I'm just here to say that I have not arrived, and we are still figuring it out, and it's good to take baby steps where you can. And yeah, that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys want me to make more, if you have any other questions about finances. And yeah, let's just make talking about finances more normalized, because I really wish I had people who talked openly about finances growing up. I never taught this in college either. It's kind of crazy. I'm hoping now that I'm out of college, they've added some really helpful like financial courses, because it's so important and nobody talks about it. So definitely start finding resources that talk openly about finances. Sit down with somebody. There was a time in my life where I had a lot of credit card debt, and I had to sit down with my friend's mom and say, can you help me make a plan for this, because I'm drowning? And yeah, she helped me overcome that, and that was empowering for me at that season. So don't be afraid to ask for help. It's so refreshing to be transparent with your money, and not in like an egotistical way, but in a way where you genuinely want help from other people, or you want to help somebody else who might have been in a place that you were. So anyway, that's all I got for today. Love you guys, and remember, Jesus loves you more.